My name is Julian, where we review all the best sports clips from all around the country. Right now, we're with Colin. You're probably wondering, well, why would I not just watch it over there? Why not watch it on their platform? Well, the truth is because over there, they don't care about you. These guys, they don't care about your opinions. They don't care about your views. They don't know who you are. They don't care. Over here, we care. If you think I'm a moron, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is amazing, let me know in the comments below. Either way, let's build a community. Let's get into some fights. Let's get into some discussions. And honestly, let's just have some fun. So please, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please also subscribe so we can really build something special. So without further ado, let's get to it.
We do this before the biggest game of the weekend, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. We go and say, here are the top 10 players. Now, I think the Niners should be favored. I think it's going to be 28-24 San Francisco. I would take the points in Baltimore, but they are banged up. They just lost Mitchell, another very, very twitchy athlete on offense. So if we listed the top 10 players, here's how I would list them in this game. Now, it will come off, well, I'll just list the players.
Yes.
So the best player I would say is Christian McCaffrey. Leads the NFL, 6 games, over 100 yards rushing. He's got 20 total touchdowns. I think he's one of the best running backs in league history.
That makes him an MVP
up there
right
with
there.
Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. He's having a remarkable year. I think McCaffrey would be my MVP, so he is the best player in this game. I would say the second best player is the best left tackle maybe in a decade, Trent Williams, who's not allowed a sack since week 13 of last year. When he's healthy, they win. The great left tackles, Tyron Smith of the Cowboys and Trent Williams, they will make great pass rushers. They'll engulf them. So there are very few people on the planet that have his size and his feet. He's the second best player in this game. Third best player to me is Lamar Jackson, on pace to become the first quarterback with 3,700 passing yards and 900 rushing yards. He's just having a great year. And by the way, when I say he's third, these top 3 players, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Lamar Jackson, are top players in the league at their positions, right? So, it's inches, not feet. Then it gets really, really close. Number 4, I think the NFL's best chess piece is Deebo Samuel. He's one of 2 players in the entire league with 5+ receiving touchdowns and 5+ rushing touchdowns. The other is McCaffrey. So I just think he is just too big for corners, too fast for linebackers. I think he's a chess piece, and he has the perfect coach. He starts running and gets steam. None of those DBs want a piece of that. He's like a tight end, but thicker and faster. I think the number 5 player is Nick Bosa, who second most pressures in the NFL behind Micah Parsons. When he's healthy, he's just like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. You're not going to block him. You got about a second and a half to have an edge on him, and then it's over. Number 6 is the best linebacker in the game, Fred Warner, who is the highest graded linebacker according to PFF. Insane range. I almost wonder sometimes you could put him on offense and have him do something in Kyle's system. He's just an insane athlete, has 4 interceptions. So there's nobody else on the planet quite like him. Number 7, Roquan Smith, to me, is the second best linebacker in the NFL. He has transformed this defense. 10+ pressures, 5+ pass breakups. Just a great player. Hall of Fame talent. Georgia Bulldog. Great with the Bears, but the Bears had to get offensive help for Justin Fields, so they moved off him. And at the time, I'm like, that's a lot of money to play a linebacker, but he and Fred Warner are the 2 linebackers in the NFL you should just pay. Number 8, George Kittle, who's the highest-graded tight end in football this year. Blocks, physical, red zone, after the catch, Hall of Fame talent. I don't think there's any denying that Kittle's great. Number 9, Brock Purdy. He's having a great year. He is not Lamar as a talent, but he is leads the NFL in passer rating at 119. He is a good player. Some would argue great. I'm not there. This is not a knock. These are the 2 best teams in the league. You got like 12 Hall of Famers in this game. This is not a knock on Brock Purdy. I don't see him as a Hall of Fame talent. Number 10 was tough. I went with Kyle Hamilton or Brandon Ayuk, and I went with Ayuk over Kyle Hamilton because he touches the ball. So people will take a receiver over a safety in a draft. I think Kyle's having a great year, and Kyle's arguably the best safety in football. He's 11. But Ayuk, second straight 1,000-yard season. Not as consistent as Kyle Hamilton. He can disappear a little bit because they have so many weapons. But, I mean, to tell you how good these teams are, Kyle Hamilton's my 11, and I think he's probably the best safety in football. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Well, so see,
Subscribe
I
here
think
to get the latest.
that list, okay. So the biggest takeaway from that list is how low Brock Purdy is, right? If people are saying that Brock Purdy is the MVP, well, then it'd be like, well, then shouldn't he be number one, right? Doesn't he need to be number one? And it's not necessarily the case, right? Because you can be the most valuable player, but not your best player necessarily, if that makes sense. And so I think that's kind of where that list goes. I mean, I think Brock Purdy needs to be elevated in that list. But the problem with gauging someone like a Brock Purdy is because the quarterback position is so important that by definition, it is the most valuable position. So therefore, the player would be the most valuable player, you know. But I think that needs, you know, taken with a grain of salt. I think when you're going into these, you know, into these judgments, you have to understand, okay, well, this position is so important that even an average player in this position who's good is more valuable to their team because, you know, it's so important, right? It's kind of like a child without a parent, right? If you're a child and you have no parents, you're screwed, right? If your parents just vanish one day, if you're a 5-year-old and your parents just vanish out of your house one day, they just disappear. I know it's a ridiculous, you know, example, but follow with me, please. That kid's just probably going to die, right? They're not going to be able to function. They're just not going to be able to feed themselves. You can probably barely even open up the doors, and they're gone. Now have a terrible parent, a parent who's just not that good outside of abuse. They're just not good. They're barely there. They wake up late. They go to sleep early, you know, whatever. And they just like give the kid, you know, ice cream. That kid is going to stay alive, right? It's better than nothing, technically, right? Technically speaking, it's better than nothing. That's kind of where you're at with a quarterback in a lot of ways. Now, to follow that same example, if a quarterback is really bad, they can really bring down their team. If a parent is really bad, abusive, awful, you know, well, then that kid is going to get messed up. So it's kind of this, you know, this minimum threshold where you just have to be just good enough, and now you're going to be really important. That's kind of, you know, the way I look at it in a lot of ways. And so if you look at, you know, their teams and you say, who are the two most important, most impactful players in this game? It's without a doubt Christian McCaffrey and Lamar Jackson. I would say Lamar Jackson than Christian McCaffrey in this game. If you had to pick just one player, you would pick Lamar Jackson, because in a lot of ways he can pretty much do whatever Christian McCaffrey can do, except he can throw, and he plays the most important position in all of sports, quarterback. So I would go with Lamar Jackson. But with that said, Christian McCaffrey is, I was going to say Christian McCaffrey is more important to the Jackson is to the Ravens, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think they're probably both of equal importance to their teams. I think without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are nothing. Without Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers maybe are not necessarily nothing because they're so stacked, but they are not the team that they are today. So I think that's what it kind of gets boiled down to. Either way, I think this game, it's going to be exciting. I think it's a little frustrating because I think the 49ers are so stacked this year, and the Ravens have gotten beat up with some injuries, you know, their tight end, Mark Andrews, and stuff like that. And so that's a bummer because it doesn't seem like it's full strength on full strength, which would make it so much more exciting. But I don't know. I think this is where the Ravens, and this is where Lamar Jackson, we're going to see who is he? Is he going to step up? But you might pull back a little bit. They kind of said this with the Chiefs versus the Eagles back when they thought that this could maybe be a rematch, right? Or a preview of what the Super Bowl will be. And they were saying how both the Eagles and the Chiefs are not going to want to show their hand to each other. Well, you can play here. If the Ravens and the 49ers think that they're going to face each other in the Super Bowl, both teams are not going to just go all hands on deck and show all of their, their all their cards. So it'll be interesting to see how this game's called, how they kind of go about it, and how competitive it ends up being, and what the biggest takeaways are. But what do you guys think? Who are the most important players do you think are on this team, on in this game? Do you think Brock Purdy was too low? Do you think it should be higher? Would love to know your thoughts. Again, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Apparently that really matters for the algorithm, so please do it. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, let's build a community. Let's keep this going. And see you all next time.